स्वागत है आज आप सभी का हमारी एक और नई वीडियो के अंदर। तो कैसे हो आप सभी लोग, आई होप सभी अच्छे होंगे। तो पिछली वीडियो में हमने इससे पिछला चैप्टर रीड करा था और अब इसको रीड करते हैं। तो इस चैप्टर का नाम है कन्फ्रंटिंग मार्जिनलाइजेशन। ठीक है, तो पिछली वीडियो में भी ये बात बोली थी, इस वीडियो में बोल रहे हैं स्पोर्ट पूरी करो। ठीक है, in the previous chapter you read about two different groups and their experiences of inequality and discrimination through powerless. Such groups have fought, protested and struggled against being excluded or dominated by others. They have attempted to overcome their situation by adopting a range of strategies in their long history: religious solace, armed struggles, self improvement, and education. Economic uplift. There appears to be no one way of doing things. In all cases, the choice of struggle has depended on the circumstances that the marginalized find themselves in. In this chapter, we will read about some of the ways in which groups and individuals challenge existing inequalities. Adivasis, Dalits, Muslim, women, and after marginalization group argue that simply by being citizens of a democratic country they possess equal rights that must be respected. Many among them look up to the constitution to address their concerns. In this chapter we will see why the Constitution of India is something that marginalized groups invoke in the course of their struggles. As part of this, we will look at how rights are translated into laws to protect groups from continued exploitation, and we will also look at the government efforts to formulate policies to promote the access of these groups to development. Invoking fundamental rights. The Constitution, as you have learnt in the first chapter of this book, lays down the principles that make our society and polity democratic. They are defined in the end through the list of fundamental rights that are an important part of the Constitution. These rights are available to all Indians equally. As far as the marginalized are concerned, they have drawn to these rights in two ways. First, by inciting on their fundamental right, they have forced the government to recognize the injustice done of them. Second, they have instead that the government enforce these laws. In some instances, the struggles of the marginalized have influenced the government to frame new laws in keeping with the spirit of fundamental rights. Article 17 of Constitution state that untouchability has been abolished. What this means in that no one can henceforth prevent Dalits from educating themselves, entering temples, using public facilities, etc. It also means that it is wrong to practice untouchability and that this practice will not be tolerated by a democratic government. In fact, untouchability is a punishable crime now. There are other sections in the Constitution that help to strengthen the argument against untouchability. For example, Article 15 of the Constitution notes that no citizen of India shall be discriminated against on the basis of religion, race, caste, gender, sex, or place of birth. In your class 7th textbook in this chapter on equality in Indian democracy. This has been used by Dalits to see equality where it has been denied to them. Therefore, Dalits can invoke or draw on fundamental rights in situations where they feel that they have been treated badly by some individual or community or even by the government. They have drawn the attention of the government of India to the Constitution, demanding that the government abide by it and do justice to them. Likewise, other minority groups have drawn on the fundamental rights section of the Constitution. They have particularly drawn upon the rights of freedom of religion and cultural and educational rights. In the case of cultural and educational rights, distinct cultural and Religious groups like the Muslim and Parsis have the right to be the guardians of the content of their culture, as well as the right to make decisions on how best this content is to be preserved. This Thus, by granting different forms of cultural rights, the Constitution tries to ensure cultural justice to such groups. The Constitution does this so that the culture of these groups is not dominated nor wiped out by the culture of the majority community. Laws for the marginalized. As you have read, the government makes laws to protect its citizens, yet this is not the only way in which it takes action. There are specific laws and policies for the marginalized in our country. There are policies or schemes that emerge through the other means, like setting up a community or by undertaking a survey, etc. The government then makes an effort to promote such policies in order to give opportunities to specific groups, promoting social justice as part of their effort to implement the constitution. Both state and central government create specific schemes for implementation in tribal areas or in areas that have a high Dalit population. For example, the government provides for free subsists hotels for students of Dalit and Adivasis communities so that they can avail of education facilities that may not be available in their localities. In addition to providing certain facilities, the government also operates through laws to ensure that constraint steps taken and inequality in the system. One law policy is the reservation policy that today is both significant and highly contentious. The laws which reserves seats in education and government employment for Dalits and Adivasis are based on an important argument that in a society like ours, when for centuries where centuries a section of the population have been denied opportunities to learn and to work in order to develop new skills or vocations, a democratic government needs to step in and assist these sections. How does the reservation policy work? Governments across India have their own list of scheduled castes or Dalits, scheduled tribals, and backward and most backward castes. The central government too has its list. Students applying to educational institutions and those applying for posts in government and expected to furnish proof of their caste or tribal uh, status in the form of caste and tribal certificates. Many government and educational institutions also ask for conditions to mention their caste tribe status. If a particular Dalit caste or a certain tribe is on the government list, then a candidate from that caste or tribe can avail of the benefit of reservation. पीछे देख लेते हैं एक बार कितना चैप्टर रहता है, फिर उसके हिसाब से करेंगे। ये पढ़ लेते हैं, कल फिर हम यहाँ से रीडिंग स्टार्ट कर देंगे, यहाँ से कर देंगे स्टार्ट। ये पढ़ लेते हैं, तो कल यहाँ से पढ़ना स्टार्ट करेंगे, ठीक है। ये पैराग्राफ और पढ़ लेते हैं। फॉर एडमिशन ऑफ to colleges, especially to institutes of provincial education such as medical colleges, governments define a set of cut-off marks. This means that not all Dalit and tribal candidates can qualify for admission, but only those who have done reasonable well and secured marks above the cut-off point. Government also offers special scholarship for these students. In your class 9th political science textbook you will read more on reservations for the backward classes, ठीक है। तो आगे कल रीडिंग करेंगे, तब तक के लिए बाय बाय।